Bump, bump, ba-da-dum, bump, bump. Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's I guess a defeat, Bindi today. It's all right. Welcome to another edition of the Blue Review presented by LAX. I am Marcus Grant. That is Parker Bell, who is playing hurt today. So, appreciate you to jumping in. I know you were still on the mend, still rehabbing. So now my voice is cracking, but good to have you back with us, man.
Thank you. I got the emergency. I'm ready. But I apologize to any of you in the chat if I sound a little off. Listen, we're all trying to battle through it, just like the Dodgers last night. Try to battle through it, but didn't quite work out, huh, Marcus?
Did not quite work out. The Dodgers lose to the Marlins 5-4 in 10 innings. So they will not have a season sweep of the Marlins, but still a chance to win the series as they go in the series finale this afternoon. 1:40 start time, so a little bit earlier than normal on a getaway day. But before we dive into what happened yesterday, as always, got to thank the folks at LAX. They are transforming the travel experience, trying to save guests time, make everything easier. The People Mover train coming early next year, hopefully. So that will certainly help with the experience. If you want more information, you can go to flylax.com/transforminglax. So let's get into it. You and I were talking briefly about it before we came up. Certainly disappointing, but it feels like one of those things that over the course of 162, you're going to lose some to some, not so good teams. And, I guess credit the Marlins for making plays when they had to yesterday.
Yeah, it's one of those games where like, okay, do we really want to dwell too much on the loss, or do we want to dive into maybe some of the little things we saw, like Gonsolin's performance? We're going to do both.
Yeah.
It was one of those where you're looking back and you go, okay, we got a little Garcia moment and the bases were loaded there in the back end. So, kind of want to find out why that was the case. But overall, even despite the loss, I think we saw some things. We saw Pages flash the leather yet again.
Yeah.
Gosh, going for the Gold Glove at this point. Like, he even got a thumbs up from my screen. we got some more Song action, and on a night that Mookie was off, we saw some good defense. So I think overall, some things that we can look forward to that were pretty good, Marcus.
Yeah, I think so. And I guess we can start with the defensive side of things because Andy Pages continues to step up out there in the outfield. I don't expect he's going to win a Gold Glove this year, but we've seen him in the past rob a couple of home runs, and then yesterday, as you mentioned, the big catch out in right field, and then fires to first base to finish the double play there. So look, we said before the season, the outfield defense is a weak spot for this team, but I guess we got to give Pages some credit, man. He's playing good defense out there.
Yeah, I was listening. I forgot if I was on the radio broadcast. I was hybrid. I was like going all over the place yesterday. But at some point, one of the broadcasts mentioned that he just loves to play the game, and I think that's. I've even heard ESPN's Clinton Yates say it before. There's certain dudes who just love to play the game, and for better or for worse, that's Pages. Occasionally, yeah, he might slip up, have some mistakes, or he'll get into a slump. But you can tell that he's just the kind of guy who goes out there and he's like, baseball is my life.
Yeah.
It's really fun to watch. It's a roller coaster, but I think when he's on a hot streak like this, the Dodgers are really, that's like where the Dodgers can go. When you got guys like Pages, when you have guys like, well, eventually maybe a Conforto. I'm not out on him yet, Greg. Listen, I've been gone a while and I know how much he is your villain. I am not out on him just yet. But when guys like that are going, it allows for the Shoheis and everybody to get a little more loose. And you see Shohei massacring the Marlins yet again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Shohei with 2 hits last night, 2 for 5, drove in a couple of runs, scored a run. And very quietly, that batting average creeping up toward 300 again. He's at 296 right now. But to kind of take it back to Pages, too, I think you're seeing Dave Roberts' increased confidence in him. The fact that yesterday when they tried to give Mookie Betts the day off, he ended up pinch hitting late in the ballgame. But with Mookie Betts out of the lineup, it was Pages hitting in the number 2 spot. So he's been swinging a good bat. He's been battling at the plate. Certainly, if you've been watching the TV broadcast, Eric Karros has made it a point to talk about the fact that it feels like Pages is always at 0-2, but the difference between, say, Pages being at 0-2 and right now Michael Conforto being at 0-2 is there's kind of a belief that Pages is going to battle at the plate. He's going to foul off pitches. He's going to try and get something good to swing at. And lately, he's been putting the ball in play, putting it in play, hitting it hard, and finding his way on base. Whereas Conforto still very much on the struggle bus. They'd have a hit a couple nights ago, but still not able to find it. But Pages playing good baseball to the point that it's really hard to get him out of the lineup. And I guess that's a good thing for multiple reasons, Parker. One, because obviously it's nice to have him playing well. It's one more good bat in the lineup. But the other part of this is Teoscar Hernandez has landed on the 10-day IL with a groin injury. We saw him leave the game a couple nights ago with what they were calling hamstring tightness. Turns out that it is a groin. So he is out for at least the next 10 days. Fingers crossed, Parker, this is not serious because, losing Teoscar, that's a huge bat in the middle of the lineup, a guy who was hitting the ball really well right now.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, and I can see in the chat already, of course, the man who was brought up in place of Teoscar, the one and only James Outman, I can see that the chat is not happy. And I get that Outman is polarizing. He was having a decent season in the minors before, like, just this last few days. And I mean, the broadcasts themselves were saying it. They were just like, gosh, we hope he can find himself. And
Yeah.
it's tough. It is another struggle bus guy there. And having Teoscar gone is huge. I mean, leading the team in RBIs. Wasn't he tied in the NL lead, I believe? If
I
not,
believe so. He was certainly among the leaders for sure.
yeah. So losing a bat like that is huge. But I mean, you're still seeing the Dodgers hang in there, and I think that's what's important. Don't feel too bad that Teoscar's out because now you have guys like Freddie with an 11-game hit streak, and he's creeping up to what, 3? I gotta go check his average
He's
stat while
at
I'm here, but
344 right
yeah,
now. He's just killing
raking.
right now.
So the Dodgers, I mean, we've been beating this drum nonstop all season. They have guys who are going to carry them to 100 plus wins. And again, this was one of those nights. Out of 162, you're occasionally going to have a dud. But it was funny because it wasn't even a dud.
Yeah. I look, they still had every chance to win. They took a lead, they fell behind, they came back and tied it. They had that big double play in the 8th inning, bases loaded, one out, and ball hit to Muncy. It goes 5-2-3 to get out of the inning and keep it tied. Unfortunately, I guess turnabout being fair play. Will Smith in the middle of that double play in the 8th. He hits into a double play in the top of the 10th inning. That ends the threat, and the Marlins end up winning it in the bottom of the 10th. But I mean, let's get to it because the chat is certainly all over it.
Yeah.
James Outman. I've been saying for a while, it just feels like the clock is ticking on his time within the organization, just because when he comes up, he's not hitting 0 for 3 yesterday with 3 strikeouts. At the moment, you got an outfield that will consist of, when everybody's healthy, Conforto, probably Pages, Teo. You're going to have Tommy Edman, who can play out there when you need him to be. Just doesn't seem like there's a lot of opportunity for Outman unless somehow he just gets on an incredible hot streak. But watching it yesterday, Parker, he's just, I don't know if he's in his head or not, because he was starting to hit at OKC, and then he comes up here and looks completely lost against arguably the worst pitching staff in baseball. You got to wonder whether or not at some point it's just a mental thing for James Outman trying to hit at the major league level.
No, it very well could be. It's one of those things where when he is hot, it's not even the kind of hot that batters really want to be hot, because it's like he's hitting 175, but he'll run into a few,
Yeah.
and that's when Dodgers fans start seeing a little bit of hope, like, oh, the power's there, the exit velo's there, but that's not necessarily relating to winning baseball for the Dodgers. And it's unfortunate. He had such a stellar rookie season, and there was so much hope. But I agree, Marcus. There's just not going to be room for him. And I saw in the chat, I think, where was it? Roy Estrada. Of course, when Edmonds back, that's another name, of course, we saw go out. They said, Roy Estrada said, put him in center, keep Kim at second. We want him to remain consistent, and then Pages at right, and you could platoon that left. But, I mean, you want to see Teoscar back as soon as possible because, yeah, Outman is just not it. He got a Parker.
Yeah, he really isn't it. I don't I just don't know if it's gonna happen. I see Justin asking us to to say dare to call him James Strike Outman on there. I did it. I mean, right now, sadly, the name fits because that's kind of where he has been. You mentioned Ha-Seong Kim, another hit yesterday.
Mhm.
Obviously a very small sample size of him in the major leagues, but hitting 375 in his couple of games as a starter, getting on base, making things happen, scoring runs. And I think to your point, it's going to be hard to justify sending him back, even when Tommy Edman comes back, just because you want that positional flexibility where you can put Outman in the outfield. And I think especially if Conforto continues to struggle, I think you see an outfield where it's Pages, Teo, and Edman
Mhm.
in some order. And Conforto gets a rest on the bench for a little bit. You can put Kim at second base. If you don't want him there on certain days, you can have Miguel Rojas. Um, it feels, Parker, like the Dodgers are trying to find ways to get Conforto a day off or something,
They
and it
just
just
can't.
doesn't. It just can't, right? Because first Edmund gets hurt, and then Kim comes up like maybe you get no, but now Teo is hurt. They just can't find a way to get Conforto out of the lineup. And another 0 for 3 yesterday. Um, I don't have any answers for Conforto. I just want to feel bad. Like, I want the dude to get a hit, because it helps the Dodgers, but also just because it takes some pressure off of him. But I don't have any answers to how to make this thing
Yeah,
better.
I mean, it's unfortunate. If there is one more, and knock on wood, one more injury, then I think the Dodgers do finally turn to the minors and bring someone up
Yeah.
outside of Outman, because it's kind of unprecedented. I know that they've dealt with injuries these last couple years, but typically it's to the pitching staff, and you still have a full defense outside of like switching Mookie around and having to get Rojas and CT3 kind of getting random times up there in the infield. But this is one of those ones where, unfortunately, if you do see another one, whoa, where do we go from there? Because then you're going to start to worry because it's getting a little thin out there. And I mean, Conforto, you're going to get to a point where it's like struggling so much. It's like, okay, man, you've reached your 150 at bats, and what are we still doing here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what it is. So we're coming up on that 150 mark real quick, and we're not seeing any signs of progress with him. I think at some point, and Greg has mentioned this a few times, um, yeah, Chris Taylor's going to have to start getting at bats. Chris Taylor's going to have to start playing consistently. They've really tried to limit that as much as possible, but at some point it becomes unavoidable. Do they bring up Estuary Ruiz, who they sort of signed as an insurance policy earlier this season, and it looks like they might have to sort of cash in that insurance policy if possible too. So, we're all kind of, I think, hoping that this is not a serious thing for Teo. I know there's some speculation that maybe this is a multiple week injury. We certainly hope not. I know they've kind of delayed, or they're being cautious. I won't say delayed, but they're being very cautious with Tommy Edman and his ankle right now. um I guess the benefit to this is that it's May. It's still early May. There's still a really long way to go in this season. The Dodgers, record wise, are in great shape right now. They're 24-12. They still have the best record in baseball. So there's no reason to panic just yet. But it'd just be nice. It would be nice to have this group healthy and ready to go at some
Yeah,
point.
you just want to have like a relaxing week for once.
Right.
But hey, listen, that's Dodgers baseball. You might not have relaxing weeks, but you get to watch the greatest players play. So it's a trade off.
Yeah.
And speaking of trade offs, on the other end, Gonsolin, Marcus, what did you see out of him? Another great performance. Shout out to him, Big Cat, for helping out my fantasy team with those 8Ks.
Yeah, no, that was another good start for Tony Gonsolin yesterday. Kind of got bit with the home run bug, gave up the home run, but even then it made it 2-1. Did not get a lot of run support yesterday, and I think that was kind of the big thing. The Dodgers scored once early in the ball game and couldn't put anything else together until the 6th and 7th innings. There just was not a whole lot there for him to work with. So when he got into trouble, suddenly he finds himself down. But overall, pretty pleased with what I saw from him. The 4 hits, 2 walks, not necessarily terrible, not great, 8 strikeouts though, but he's missing bats. He's getting swings and misses. Those are the things you like to see. So while we're worried about all these injuries, we're still trying to figure out what the latest is with Tyler Glass. Now we're waiting on Blake Snell to come back. Having Gonsolin there to go along with Yamamoto, with Sasaki to a point, it's reassuring. It definitely is reassuring to have him in there.
Yeah, and on another pitching note, I think Kershaw threw like a 6-inning no-hitter. Yeah.
6 no-hit innings, as he's doing his rehab start. So I think the expectation, the hope is that he's back next week. So that's one more arm to come back and be in the rotation for this group. So certainly a positive that we're seeing Clayton Kershaw get a little bit closer to being back as well. So, there are some silver linings here. I don't want to make it sound all doom and gloom. There are things to kind of be hopeful about with this group here. Turning to today, the Dodger website still has TBD, but I think all signs point to it being Landon Knack getting the start for the Dodgers. We'll see whether he actually starts the game or if they do an opener, because that's what they did the other day with Kasparius. They had Jack Dreyer come in. He sort of opened the game, then Kasparius took over. So we'll see whether or not. I would assume it's going to be Knack from first pitch, correct? That makes sense.
Yeah, I would have to assume. I think in the past, I want to say his last 2 starts, he has started first
Yeah.
pitch. And he's done it in the past. He's done it last year. He's got to find his stuff this year. Been definitely struggling, but I'm still on board with Knack. I think that he still has the nasty stuff. I get that 7 ERA is not pretty to look at, but again, it's May, like we said. And if you're going to figure it out, doing it against the Marlins is a good way to figure it out. So he should have the run support today. I think that they're going to figure out I think on the mound for the Marlins was
Belozo.
Belozo, yeah.
Valente Belozo, which this is the first time I've ever spoken this man's name out loud. So
Valente, we're sorry, we aren't familiar with your game yet.
Belozo, I'm not sure, but either way, 0-2, 4.97 earned run average. He's made 3 starts so far this year. This will be number 4. So yeah, in theory, the offense hopefully comes alive this afternoon and gets the series win to get out of town. I think early run support for Landon Knack would be a good thing. I think ideally it's a game where Knack can give them some length, get into the 6, maybe even finish 6 innings, which would be kind of a novel idea for this pitching staff. And not have to use. Yesterday, I think, and the chat mentioned this too. They didn't necessarily use all the high leverage guys. We saw Garcia come in after Gonsolin, and he gave up a couple of runs. It was Fire Eisen in extra innings who ends up taking the loss. So they didn't, I know they used Vesia for an inning, Bonda for an inning. They used Tanner Scott for an inning, but you do still have some of the high leverage guys in case you need them. You got you still have Evan Phillips. You still have some guys out there if you need them.
You always got Kike Hernandez who can open for you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Justin Beyozo. We'll see what he has to offer today for sure.
I wanted to ask you, Marcus, real quick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
10-10 already for Shohei. What are we thinking?
He's not doing 50-50 this year. He's not going to do 50-50. Mostly because, there's still designs on him pitching at some point this year. And I think that more than anything will sort of slow it down. But, it's fun. I mean, I still love that he is doing everything at the top of the lineup, right? The power stroke is certainly there. He's definitely running. You can run on the Marlins. And I wish I had, saved this stat. But I remember seeing a couple nights ago, one of the fantasy baseball writers talking about how many stolen bases the Marlins are giving up and how, for the most part, it's not even close. So it's been fun to see the Dodgers take advantage of that. Shohei, Max Muncy had a stolen base yesterday. I mean, that
right.
if you need any more proof, look no further than the fact that Max Muncy had a stolen base in the ball game yesterday. So it's fun to watch, but no, he's not going to get to 40-40 or 50-50 rather. I don't even know if he gets to 40-40. Maybe he gets you 40 something home runs. I might be surprised if he gets you 40 stolen bases this year.
Yeah, I think the 40 home runs is possible. I think he's honestly about to go on a streak where we're going to see a lot of bombs.
Mhm.
So that is also going to go against the stolen bases because the more
Yeah.
he's hitting absolute nukes or just getting extra base hits, then the stolen bases are going to limit themselves. But I had a random question again for you as we kind of near the end here.
Okay.
Are we ever going to see, and this is based off of the NBA playoffs last night, are we ever going to see an MLB player hit the Pedro Ceballos? I don't want to do it on camera, but
Oh,
the big
oh,
cone,
the Sam Cassell. Yeah.
Sam Cassell, yes. Because shout out Tyrese Halliburton.
Hey, man.
This isn't a Pacers review, but that was iconic. Just seeing that on an NBA court was great.
After you hit a shot like that, I think you're sort of entitled to do something like that.
Right.
I feel like in baseball, probably not, because it sort of feels like you're inviting one to be up and in the next time you come to the plate.
True.
Is sort of
Retaliation
why.
is guaranteed at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that sort of prevents that from happening in baseball. Baseball has the bat flip. I think that's the bat drop, the bat flip. I think that's sort of it. Or you can
Stare at it. Yeah.
You can sort of Cadillac it, as they say, take your time rounding the bases, if you will. But yeah, I feel like that one. You know what? You can do that one. Not that Freddie would have done it, but if you hit a walk-off grand slam to win a World Series game, I think you can do it.
You know what? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he hit somewhat of a pseudo. Like they had he was rounding the bases, and he kind of did this.
He did. Yeah, he kind of pumped he did pump himself up a little bit for sure.
It may have been more of like an awkward flex. But it was close.
It was close. I mean, obviously the iconic image from that is him just holding the bat up in the air as soon as he hit it. But yeah, I think he did. Not quite like the Kirk Gibson awkward fist pump as he's limping around second base, but definitely something there for Freddie for sure. So, yeah, definitely. All right, so the Dodgers trying to bounce back from a loss last night. They will get going. 1:40 Pacific time is the scheduled first pitch. Beozo, presumably against Landon Knack to get the start today. So the Dodgers trying to get out of Miami with a win, and then they head back west a little bit for a 4-game series against the Diamondbacks starting on Thursday night. And look, I know the D-backs not expected to necessarily win the division. They're 19-17, but Parker, you know this. They are a pesky bunch, those snakes.
Yep. Those snakes, persistent.
Especially when the Dodgers come to town. They tend to save some of their best baseball for that. So that's going to be interesting. So definitely, I think a good idea for LA to get a win before they head to Arizona for a 4-game set. Bubba Holmberg in the chat saying, need to go watch that grand slam again. I'll tell you what, I know we're almost out of time, but I know there was Ken Rosenthal did kind of an oral history of the grand slam, talking to all the people involved. And I would tell you that it was, February or March, right before the season started, and I read it and I got all emotional again just thinking about it.
Right.
So yeah, maybe go check it out and make your morning a little bit better watching Freddie Freeman hit a grand slam to win a World Series game. All right.
On that note, shout out to Illinois. Yes, Pedro Serrano from Major League. It's been years since I watched it. Not Ceballos. I'm thinking Cedric
Ceballos. There it is. So anyway, that will do it for this edition of the Blue Review. Thanks to everybody in the chat for hanging out with us, as always. And shout out to you, Parker, for playing hurt, man, and getting through this one today.
I'm gonna get this. Never mind. I'm not gonna say that, but I'm gonna get this emergency in me, and we will be good tomorrow.
There you go. I will say like a little lemon ginger tea with some honey too will go a long way toward helping you out too. So I would recommend that. But thanks to LAX as well. Stick around in the ESPN LA YouTube chat. Travis and DeMarco coming up next. I'm sure they will talk some Dodger baseball as well. In the meantime, we will be back with you tomorrow, 8:30 to 8:55, right here on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. For Parker, I'm Marcus. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Blue Review. We will see you tomorrow.
It's a Blue Review.
Blue Review.